how do you know that it's dead people you're talking to, and not a hallucination or being schizophrenic or having a psychotic episode? Like, how do you know it's dead people you're talking to?
That's a very good question, and it's actually kind of funny. But because my son teases me and he says I'm a professional schizophrenic. I hear voices and I make money doing it.
Yeah.
So that's my science boy's take on my on my career. But how do I know the difference? The difference is they're not coming from outside of my head. Nobody's telling me what to do. Nobody's talking to me through the television. But when I'm sitting there speaking with someone and I say, for example, oh, your mother Mary is here, and she says she was just with your brother Joseph, and their eyes bug out of their head and the tears start, I know it's Mary, and I know she was just with the brother. How do you make this stuff up?
Welcome back. We are on today with my guest, Lynn Nicholls, on I'm Tall for This Shit podcast. I'm Angie S., the founder of angies.com, link in the show notes, where I coach and consult women on their health and skincare whilst keeping it fun, irreverent, and most of all practical and realistic for their own lifestyles. I started this podcast because I wanted to talk about well-being beyond food, skincare, and meditation. Even though those are still really important and definitely important to me, I want to have guests on to talk about well-being beyond those things, because things like sex, dating, and other areas of health, relationships, and feeling like a misfit are also part of well-being, and a different way of empowering other women, but also men. If you're enjoying this show, please don't forget to rate, review, subscribe on iTunes, follow on Spotify, share the word, share the love. That's how you're going to help, support this show. So today I'm recording whilst I'm having this bronchitis. So my voice is a little bit off, a bit nasal, whatever. But listen, I still did this because I actually really love doing this podcast and I am committed. It has to come out every week, come rain. What's the word? Come rain or shine, whatever. Okay? So today I have a bit of an unusual guest, a guest that between you and I didn't think I was going to, I didn't think I was going to get that type of guest onto the show. I'm sort of a little bit over all the psychic, the medium and that kind of stuff. Like I felt like those days are gone, but Lynn is different. So I brought her on. I just really, really love her. She just has like really great energy. There's a great vibe about her and her insights are very helpful. You walk away with dating tips, and even if you were to disregard the psychic medium stuff, it's still super useful. And I've got to say, like, I've really come to like her edge. I really like what she has to say about her experience around being a psychic and a medium. And so basically what she does is that she helps her clients get in touch with their intuition, which I think is very important. And also her clientele are women between 35 and 55, well, that's my box, getting back onto the dating scene with the help of her edge. So I think if you're a woman getting back on the dating scene, great. If you're a guy, well, like, you're going to get to know a little bit what's going on in our mind and what the other side is saying about it. So honestly, absolutely love her. And I hope you get to enjoy this episode too. So let's begin.
Hi, Lynn. Welcome.
Hi, Angie. Thank you so much for having me here.
Well, it's a pleasure. Thank you so much for joining. Listen, I'm definitely excited about our session today because you are definitely have a little bit of an edge that I like. You're definitely different. So before we get into the whole topic, please introduce yourself, where you live and what you do.
Okay, thank you very much. My name is Lynn Nicholls. I'm a psychic medium. I've been doing this since 2005. I left a very wonderful teaching career to do this, to help people. I live in Niagara Falls, Canada, and I help people connect with the other side, but I also help them get in touch with their inner intuition. So I teach them how to empower themselves, because I always say your intuition is your superpower.
Yes. Oh, yeah, absolutely. And I'm just gonna like probe you a little bit, because when we spoke, and I don't know, I mean, are you happy to talk about this here? Like you mentioned that you talk to dead people.
Yes, all the
Is that what you
time.
mean by psychic? Yeah.
Yeah, that's basically what I do. Is people come to see me to connect with the other side. Some people do like getting some future info, but what I find is my demographic is mostly women between 35 and 55, and a lot of them are back on the dating scene. And the dating scene these days is absolutely ridiculous. So they need an edge. They need to figure out how to find their person without going on 50 coffee dates and 20 wine dates and going through app after profile after profile.
Yeah. Well, listen, you've got your ideal client right here, because
Wonderful.
I know. Before we go to that, because I have a lot of questions for you about dating and relationship and all of that, and how you use your edge to help women with this. Just before we get into that, I want to ask you, how do you know that it's dead people you're talking to, and not a hallucination or being schizophrenic or having a psychotic episode? Like, how do you know it's dead people you're talking to?
That's a very good question, and it's actually kind of funny. But because my son teases me and he says I'm a professional schizophrenic. I hear voices and I make money doing it. Yeah. So that's my science boy's take on my on my career. But how do I know the difference? The difference is they're not coming from outside of my head. Nobody's telling me what to do. Nobody's talking to me through the television. But when I'm sitting there speaking with someone and I say, for example, "Oh, your mother Mary is here," and she says she was just with your brother Joseph, and their eyes bug out of their head and the tears start. I know it's Mary, and I know she was just with the brother. How do you make this stuff up? You just can't. So am I having a psychotic episode? Well, if I am, people are really enjoying it.
Yeah. Yeah, but you know what? Also, the thing is, I was wondering as well if sometimes, obviously, there is like, there are, people have like overstimulation of certain senses, and they'll hear all of the noises in it, and it gets them to have like an episode, and it's very different to what you are experiencing, obviously.
Very.
But sometimes I wonder if, some people sometimes will have hallucinations or think it's hallucination, are actually seeing what most of us can't see, but what you and they can see, because in certain culture, it is a gift. It's an absolute gift to be able to see things that the common men and women can see.
Of course. It's like, it's hypersensory senses. And I mean, they were burned at the stake for it hundreds of years ago too. But I think everybody has it. Everybody has heard something or felt a cold breeze when there's no window open, or smelled their father's pipe when dad's been gone for 20 years. So is it hallucination? Well, if it was a hallucination, then I would say that the hallucinations would continue over and over, and you couldn't control the start and stop of it. But with intuition, you can control when it comes in and when it stops. It's a difference, I think.
So how do you, so we were talking about, obviously talking to dead people. And so now you brought up intuition. How are those two things linked for you?
Well, I'm a psychic medium. So every psychic is not a medium. Not every psychic can talk to dead people, but every medium is psychic. So you have to have the one gift before the other one starts to come in. It's really quite interesting. You just tap into, it's almost as though you're listening beyond the walls, you're looking beyond the walls, and you get a sense in your mind of what's coming through. You don't literally see things, but you see them in your mind's eye.
And so when you say a psychic and a medium, what's the difference? Sorry, because like I know for you it's like, obviously everyday speech, but for a lot of us it isn't. So when you say a psychic and a medium, Like, what's the difference? Sorry.
Okay, no, great question. Because
Mhm.
psychics, they can tell you about the things around you. They can tell you about your future to a point because nothing's actually written in stone. So they tell you things that are going on now, things that are of this world and possibly of the future. A medium can connect to dead people. A medium can connect to spirits on the other side.
Yeah.
And when I say that, I'm going to qualify there is a difference between spirits and ghosts.
Oh, okay. So what's that difference?
So spirits are people that have passed away and they have gone to the other side. They've gone to heaven. They've gone through that, that big tunnel with the light at the end. They've done all that stuff you read about in the movies, which is a little glorified, and they can come back and talk and they can hang out with us. Ghosts are stuck. Ghosts haven't crossed over and come back yet. So I don't deal with ghosts. I deal with spirits. Ghosts, sometimes I don't actually, to me, ghosts are the cats of the spirit world because I don't trust their behavior. I don't know what's going to happen next. And spirits are the dogs of the spirit world. They're friendly and they're here to chat and they want to talk to you. So that's the difference between the two.
Okay. And so just sort of like quickly, you can talk to both, but you choose not to talk. You ghosting the ghosts, but you talk to the spirits. Is that what it is?
I very much am. Some people have asked me to come in and, check out their building for ghosts. And I really don't, that's not my gig. I don't enjoy it because I don't know what they're going to do. I don't want somebody grabbing my hair. I don't want somebody blowing in my face. I want to be able to control it. And I'm not saying I'm a controlling person, but with spirits, you can just have a chit chat, just like you and I are having a chit chat. With ghosts, they're going to do their thing.
Look, listen, if someone wants to call you a control freak because you don't want to be talking to ghosts, like, so be it. Like, let them have it, because I wouldn't mind someone calling me a control freak if it meant that I didn't have to go into a building where there were ghosts. I'm fine with that. Yeah. Okay. So do you see, I mean, that may be a bit too personal, but do you see your past relatives and past friends?
Sometimes it's harder to do things for myself, my family, and my friends because you're emotionally invested in it. Like, you want to see them, you want to have an experience with them. So you don't know the difference between wanting and an actual visit.
Oh, so you don't know if it's delusional or if it's real when it's for you.
Yeah. Exactly. Mm-hmm. Exactly. So just as an example, one time I was driving down the highway, and a lot of times I do it in my car as I imagine my mother who's passed. I imagine her sitting in the passenger seat and we have a little chat. And I ask her, hey, what's coming up with this situation or that situation? And is it my imagination? I try and verify that. So at the end of the conversation, I'll say, hey, Mom, this is a very particular one where I said, Mom, tell me something I'll see driving on this highway in the next 5 minutes. And she said to me, big black blankets. And I thought, there's no friggin' way I'm going to see blankets. I'm on a highway. So about 3 minutes later, I rounded a couple curves, went over a bridge, and there was a building being built just off the highway, which was covered in big black tarps.
Oh, wow.
So I was like, oh, good one, Mom. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Good job.
That is good. That is. Wow. Okay. So before we go into into the next part of the interview, is there like one main thing that maybe you've learned or you're still learning about talking to dead people?
We're always learning when we're talking to them because the universe is so massive. We are just this tiny little speck of sand in it. So what I'm learning is that there is always a silver lining. There is always a positive to every negative. And though it's sometimes hard to see through the negative, the spirit world wants us to be happy. That's their goal for us. And they keep trying to make sure we know that. So I'm still learning that, of course, because sometimes life hits you with a ball of crap that you don't know how to deal with. And you just have to learn to sit back and say, okay, where is this taking me? What is it making me avoid? Is it making me avoid something worse? So I think that's it, is there's always some happy to be found in almost everything.
So I mean, I agree with that. And it's sometimes it's hard to see in the moment. It does sometimes take years to see that silver lining, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
But and sometimes you just can't take away from suffering. I mean, I think especially if someone's like in a war or something, in a war zone, the silver lining is not going to be there straight away. Or
No.
and it may never see. But so everything is, I guess, how do you call it, relative. But how come then, if the universe wants us to be happy, how come we're always sabotaging ourselves? How come we're always, sometimes you're like, how do you just always get in your own way?
That's
I say you, I
do.
mean, I say me, us, everyone.
Yeah, we all do it.
Yeah.
It's human nature. I think it's human nature because we do want to control the outcomes of things. And I think the spirit world, the universe wants us to know they got our back. They really do. And I'm not saying to not do anything in your life, but just trust that there's, if not one or two, there's 10 people on the other side watching out for you.
Yeah.
So we sabotage ourselves just because that's what we do. That's human nature. If something's going too well, we just wait, when's the bomb going to drop? So that's natural, I think.
Do you think that the spirits are looking down on, every individual? Or when that happens and we're sabotaging ourselves, are they like pulling their ghostly hair, or are they like going, oh, bless, that's okay, she's just learning?
The second one, exactly.
Oh, really? With love and forgiveness. I know what we should be doing for ourselves.
They're like, oh, goodness, here she goes again. Geez, what is she doing? And sometimes I can just imagine them shaking their heads. The neat thing is, if you want spirit's help, they are not entitled to interfere in your life. They can't just jump in and say, oh, I'm going to fix this for you. We do have to give them permission, just like you would sign a permission slip for your kid to go away on a field trip. And what I do is I say, okay, guys, well, I usually say mom and whoever else wants to help fix my life or improve my life.
Yeah.
And they will get on it to the best of their abilities within the parameters of the plan you have set out for your life. So if you're not supposed to win the lottery, you're not winning the lottery.
Yeah. Yeah. I was just thinking, because what you're saying about, giving permission. And I think I believe that's true. I guess from on the other end, in the sense that, like, I love reading Gabrielle Bernstein's book.
Oh, yes. Yes.
So I just read the Nicholls Miracles, and I actually do miss reading it, because I finished it, almost finished it. I think it was 2 months ago. And when I was doing it, it does make such a big difference to start off the day that way and finishing the day this way, and setting an intention. But it's all about, you don't call out for spirit, but you do your inner guide. So you go within and believing that the universe, it's also outside, because it's very much about, her book is very much about how the universe has got your back. That's her theme. Mm-hmm. And so, but she talks about, how to also, there is a saying that's the one I always keep thinking about, is it goes, inner guide, please help me hang on. It goes, inner guide, guide me. Oh, it's funny, I can't say it now that
of course, you're on the spot. Yeah.
It's like, inner guide, guide me, please guide me in what to say, where to go, what to do.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, I think so. I guess it's your inner being, but she also has things with the universe. I guess this is kind of a good segue for the next bit, because obviously you've understandably tapped into the more of the ethereal world and come to understand about intuition and instincts and mm-hmm. I'm sure other things that I'm not aware of. So I'm curious, like, could you give me a definition of the difference between instinct and then the wrong, what I call like the wrong ego mind, like the fear-based ego mind, that's the self-sabotaging, mm-hmm. and 3 intuition. So 1 instinct, the ego mind, and the intuition. How do you know? Yeah, what's the difference in your
What's the
definition?
difference? It's interesting when you look at the words instinct and intuition, is they're basically spelled the same way. They contain a lot of the same letters.
Yes.
And I don't know if that's just a coincidence. I believe in coincidences, but I think this is very interesting because they're basically the same thing. Our instincts are our natural reactions to things. And you've got this, I don't like this, or, oh, that's really good, or I like this person, or I don't like this person. The difference between instinct and intuition, instinct is, I don't want to say the lower level, but it's your first reaction. So then you take the instinct and tap into your intuition. You take instinct a step further, and intuition is a focused instinct. Okay, what is this feeling telling me? Why am I not enjoying this situation? Why do I think something really awful is going to happen? So you can tap into it a lot more, into your intuition, by asking questions. Intuition is purposeful instinct. And what you talk about, the ego mind, that fear-based, you can't get intuition through fear. Intuition is based on a very neutral, a very detached state of mind. And I'm not saying you have to meditate, but you have to have zero attachment to any outcome. You have to just let information flow. So that ego mind, that darn ego, and good old Sigmund Freud, you need immediate gratification. So the ego needs to take care of exactly what's wrong at this exact moment. So if I'm having a crappy day, I need a drink, or I need somebody to yell at. So the ego it should not be involved in intuition whatsoever, because it's going to take you down a track where you do not want to deal with the people you attract. You do not want to deal with the situations that come up, because the law of attraction dictates, the thoughts you put out there are what comes to you.
Yeah. I like what you just said. And the thing with the ego, I find the ego is noisy. It's filled with thoughts, repetitive thoughts.
It loops around and around.
Very noisy. Intuition is very quiet and
calm. Yeah.
Very calm. And the way I sometimes I describe it is that, it's like, like just before you get a bad phone call, like, it's bad news.
Mm-hmm.
You can feel it. It's like a silence is happening. You can feel it in the pit of your stomach, and you pick up that call, and you don't even need the person to say what they're about to say. You know what's going to happen.
Exactly.
And there's a calmness. There's no panic. It's an eerie calm. And I like what you said about with the instinct and intuition, because I never realized it's true. They're spelled the same, almost. Yeah. Not spelled the same, but it's very similar. And it's the same in French, because instinct c'est l'instinct, and intuition c'est intuition. And it's in, isn't it? In instinct, intuition. Ego is X, is out.
Mm-hmm.
Right? But instinct, the way you described it, I liked it, because it's almost like instinct is that survival mode. So it's the rougher edge, what needs to happen quick, there's a lion, run, or shoot, exactly. I don't know, run. And then intuition is the more refined one.
Right.
Elevated state of, oh, wait a minute. But that's the thing, right? So if you have to make a decision, so now this is where dating comes into play. And this is why people call you up, Lynn.
They do.
Yeah, because when you're dating and you're confused and it's your 50th coffee date, or whatever, like you mentioned at the beginning, okay? It is difficult, and your mind cannot be still sometimes. And so this is where, because you said, having no attachment to the outcome. Well, it's hard to be able to do that when your emotions are at stake, when you...
Oh, it's so hard.
Yeah.
It's so hard. And emotions are going to get in the way of your intuition every single time.
Say that again.
Your emotions are going to get in the way of your intuition every single time.
Yes. Yeah.
And
also, I think it's part is the ego as well, because you want to feel that thing. You want to have that guy. You want it to work. All of that stuff.
You do. And that's what messes us up all the time.
So before we get into how on earth we figure this out, is I have like a straight up question for you is like, how do you find the whole package? And I mean like good sex, good man, someone that, I want to hang out with, that wants to hang out with me, because I think it's hard to find the whole package, no offense to any of my exes, all beautiful kings, of course, but I just can't get it right. I mean, sometimes it's happened that we outgrow each other, whatever it is.
Of course.
But now oh my God, it's like I've come off the app. So I've cleared the bench. I'm taking a break. I'm just, I
exactly.
don't know how.
There's not a lot of whole packages around. You might want to settle for like 80% of a whole package.
Well, but the package is like good sex and a good man that we want to hang out with. I don't think that's too much to ask.
It's not at all. I don't think it is at all. It's that's a great question. The problem with dating too is we live in this disposable society where everybody feels they can jump from one person to the next, and if this isn't working, I'm just going to go here, and it's really quite confusing. So how do we find it? Well, I don't know exactly where to go, but I can tell you how to trust yourself. So when you are at that place or you're meeting that person, I can tell you if it's a no or a yes. But what you said is very important. You take a break. You take a break because it's just overwhelming. And if it's not working, you take a break. You go on summer vacation and you reformat everything and all your thoughts about dating because it sucks. So the interesting thing too is, based on what you say and what everybody else says, dating sucks. You're on all these dates and nothing's working. So what happens with, say, the law of attraction is your mind is saying, dating sucks, and there's all these jackasses out there I've been meeting. So what happens is you're going to continue to have dating suck and meet more jackasses. So how do we figure this out? How do we find him? Physically, I found one, and it was a really interesting. I had to take a break first. So maybe you're just around the corner from meeting your person. But you take a break and you say, screw it. I'm not doing this anymore. I'm not putting up with anybody else's garbage. But what we need to get away from is, I find this with ladies who are taking date after date and answering email after email. You have a really good gut instinct. Women's instinct. It's literally called women's instinct because we have it. Mm-hmm. We have this, and you don't have to be psychic. You are psychic. You've got it. And we just have to learn to use it purposefully. So we have to get away from the thoughts of the hot guy or the my type guy. Because seriously, how has your type worked out for you before?
Oh, but that's the thing. I don't really have a physical type.
That's okay.
It's going to come across really loose here, but no, I really don't. I mean, I used to, I took it now. I sort of stay away from the. And again, I don't know if I'm wrong with this, but I kind of don't want the exciting guy anymore. I'm just not interested in the exciting guy. And I don't know if that's right or wrong, because I do love passion. I'm a passionate person, and for me, physical chemistry is important. But I just find that the feeling of excitement, after, within the first few dates, I find it crashes and burns pretty quick.
Oh, then it's time to say bye-bye.
Yeah. So I don't know if I trust in that exciting guy anymore.
No, because we go back to what you said before when you were talking about the calmness with intuition. When you meet your person, you aren't going to feel fireworks and, you won't see unicorns running through meadows. You're not going to get that stuff. That's the person you probably want to jump in bed with, and that's that. The person you meet, you're going to have what you spoke of, that kind of calmness and, this is kind of nice, and I don't really know what's going to go on. It's a very neutral feeling, and you can't read yourself. Now, if you can't read the guy, then I'd be a little worried, because that might mean that you're picking up on something. Your woman's intuition is picking up on something that he's hiding, and you probably don't want to go there.
So you say you cannot read yourself, but you should be able to read him.
You should be able to read him, but you do have to trust your body. A lot of times what we do, and you know it straight away, you meet somebody and in your head you get a quick, here's our instinct, you get a quick, no, not him. But what do? We have our coffee and we smile and we flip our hair and we touch his arm and we're thinking, oh, please let it be a yes. But it's a no. And we ignore that little feeling and we give too many chances. And what happens is the universe gives us an ass kicking, because if we don't trust that no, this no may screw around on us. He may, ghost us. He may put us through the emotional roller coaster. So you don't want to get shown no in harder and more hurtful ways. I always say, go with the no. If you hear a no, go out of here.
Yeah, this is so interesting because I've had this in the past where I literally, it's not even a day. Like sometimes, I think like there was this guy I really liked, and I met him through friends. We were just at a dinner. It was not like I didn't go with the idea of meeting someone.
Right.
Just went to go for a friend's dinner, and I sat down, and I remember he started talking, and and it was out of my control. This word popped up in my head, going player.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. I obviously ended up going on dates with him.
Of course. We do that, damn it.
Yeah, and we do. But that's the thing, he was exciting. And the thing is, and I knew I was right. And afterwards I was like, I was right. I knew. And it wasn't because he was behaving badly at all. He was actually on the surface of things, really, really good. I mean, really great, got on really well. But also he really did things. And he had kids, but he never made me feel like I was like super important. I never had to, like, he really prioritized me, if you know what I mean.
Oh, wow.
But something came to a brink, and that's because he was still, and I think this is where that little voice popped up, the little player word in my mind. Inside, he was still a boy. He wasn't a man in the sense that he didn't know where he was going in life. His career was going. He didn't know what he wanted, if he wanted to carry on what he was doing. He was freshly divorced, all of this stuff, which to me, I should have known. Those are things that I do know, but I ignored it. And because he was in that space in his life, he could not be the man that he needs to be in a relationship. Just, he was not in the right place. And so the way it fell apart was exactly in a very immature way as well. The whole thing. So it was just, but I have no regrets. But I was just like, I just got reeled in because he was exciting and we get on so well. But it was wrong, and actually, I knew it. My body knew it. But you were saying something interesting before about, the jackasses. You said, like women meeting jackasses. Sorry, but actually, for me at the moment, the problem is not that. I do mean they're nice guys, but they're just not right. So, for example, and again, that was probably like something with intuition or instinct. But when I first met him, I had a really good feeling. And again, he's actually he's a good person, good feeling. But after the third date, the more we went on dates, I don't know why, there was something in me that kept thinking, everything's right, everything's great.
But
well, almost. I mean, not everybody, like a lot of things are great.
Sure.
But picturing myself with him in the future made me feel blue.
Oh, interesting.
It was off. And then after dating for a while, and then we were basically basically the deal breaker was that, and this is before we never slept together, is because he doesn't believe in wearing condoms. And to me, that's a deal breaker straight away. I'm like, you don't know me well enough to know about me. Like, I know I'm clean. I do my own, I test and stuff like that. But he doesn't know me. I could be lying.
Of course.
And so first of all, I don't know him enough to know. Now for me, it's like, it was really interesting because I was just like, oh gosh, that was the one, like that to me, that was like, there's lots of things I can overlook, there's just red flags or something, but that is a hard deal breaker for me. And you have
to have those.
Yeah, I can't sort of, how do you call it? I can't gamble my health on someone else who's carefree on it, carefree with it. They don't have their own back, so they're not going to have my back.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, and I wonder if that was maybe that thing that I didn't know at the time when I was thinking I was seeing my future blue. It was blue, felt blue when I saw him in the future.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I love that you say that. I love how your mind, you took your instinct and you turned it into intuition. So you heard the one word player, so that's your instinct. And then your intuition dug a little deeper and said, there's a little boy inside. And he makes me feel blue in the future. So you did it beautifully. That was brilliant.
Was two different. Yeah, that was two different guys. The player, he was a boy, and then the good guy.
Oh, sorry. Okay, I misunderstood.
No, that's okay. That's okay. The more recently one. Everything seemed fine. Everything seemed right, but I kept feeling, no, something isn't right.
But you kept dating him,
and then we never had sex because that was, to me, that's a deal breaker. I cannot be with someone who's not going to be wearing them. But interestingly enough, the first one, the player, I could see a future. I didn't feel blue about the future, although now I do feel blue if I was I think about it. But yeah, so that was a very long thing. But I was just. I guess it's like how would you say to women how to use, I guess maybe is this how we use our intuition in dating and choosing a mate? Is this how we do it? We just don't, you say like, don't go for the exciting guys, just feel calm and then just observe. Is that?
Of course. Well, if you're going for the exciting guys, if you just want some excitement, you go for them. You just know it might not lead anywhere except on a mattress, which is fine.
Yeah.
That's what you want. But I always say, we really have to know ourselves. We really have to know ourselves to know what we're attracting, because you can sit back and other than that initial no, you have to think about this fella and say, is he a lesson for me? Is he a pattern that I've established and I'm dating these kind of guys? Or is he actually my person? So you would know because you know yourself. So for example, if you think you're not good enough, you're going to attract guys that treat you like you're not good enough, or they're not good enough for you. And if you think you have nothing to offer, you're going to attract people that have nothing to offer. So just as an example, when I was dating about 4 or 5 years ago, I met a fella who had a lot of money and ran successful businesses. And I didn't feel good enough for him. I thought, I can't date him. There's no way I can date him. I don't feel good enough. And how many times do you think I dated him after that? Like 20, 30 maybe? And it's ridiculous because I should have gone with that. Gone home and thought, why don't I feel good enough? Why am I attracting these people that are making me, through no particular actions of their own, but are making it come out in me, that I'm not good enough? So if I would have stopped that and figured out what my problem was, I could have moved. I knew what my problem was. I just didn't do anything about it. I could have moved on. So if you know yourself and you know what you actually want and why you're dating, you might be able to attract somebody faster. If you want a relationship because of finances, you're struggling. So you just want a relationship for finances or status, or because you don't want to be alone, that's what you're going to get. And if you just want a relationship for love, you will find it. Unfortunately, the universe isn't in a hurry. It isn't in a hurry to give you what you want.
It's
always on time.
Like one of us.
It's just waiting for you to get through all of your crap. It's waiting for you to just unload all your baggage. And at one point, the universe, who is our greatest teacher, is going to stand back and say, oh, that chick's got it. Okay, we'll give her guy now. And he will show up out of nowhere for some random reason. And you will think, how in the world did I make this happen? And it's just because you got to know yourself and you didn't put up with anything that took you down the wrong path.
Yeah, I agree, but at the same time, I have a problem with that in the sense that, like, I know that's how it feels like. That's how it's felt in the past when I've gone into a relationship. It was always like, oh my God, I didn't expect this. Like, I didn't expect this to happen, or I wasn't looking. But at the same time, I also do know, people who they go from one relationship to the next, no breaks. And that's because they're scared of being alone. So how come either are they attracting people who are maybe has the same kind of fear as they do? Because like I know someone, that person, always picks really nice partners. They're very nice, but often the partner is actually more interesting than that person.
Partners plural.
Yeah, we need present and past. And so, but I'm like, how? And I know that person's scared of being alone. So how can they manage? Why do they get it? And I know it sounds petty and maybe jealous. And
no.
I don't want their partners, but I was just like, how? Because I understand they like feeling good enough, and you have to be happy in your life. And I do believe you have to have a full life. You should be able to, I think it's important, I think especially for women, but for men too, obviously, but I think especially for women, you have to have something for yourself. You have to have something that's yours. You have to make sure you have your own money coming in.
Of course.
A partner is an added value, a big value, but it's an added value. It does not make you. So if someone clearly cannot feel secure in being alone, how come they do attract good partners? I mean, that's my perspective of it. Maybe they're not good partners, but
they probably aren't good partners because they go from one to the other. Is that what I'm understanding?
Yeah. Like so long term to long term. It's not because
long term to long term because they can't be alone. So you're understanding it perfectly. They don't want to be alone, so they fill that void, and they fill a void with someone who's going to give them what they need at that point in time in their life. And then they don't need that anymore, so the relationship ends. And then they're alone again. Here we go on the hunt. So back to somebody else. Oh, this works, and I'm not alone. I've got somebody to play with, and then that doesn't work again. So what do? You have to, it sounds so cliche. You have to be happy with being alone. Not lonely at all. You have to be just happy with being alone.
Yes. No, and I agree with you with that. And I'm super comfortable being by myself, and probably too comfortable. It's more uncomfortable for me to start a relationship. That's when it's like, oh, I'm not liking all this change. But I guess it's sometimes I think it's important to, first to hear, and that it's just because someone is in a relationship doesn't mean that they've got it figured out more than we have.
Oh, 100%.
It doesn't mean that they are in a good relationship or they're with a good partner. And I think sometimes often that's not said enough, and a lot of us often being felt, can be made to feel like, oh, what's wrong with you because you're single, or and especially people who are in a couple, they always go, it'll happen when you're not looking for it, and I'm like, oh, shut up, you're in a partner.
I know, just smack them right across the face. Yeah, no, but it's interesting.
I have to go out and date, otherwise I'm not going to meet them in front of Netflix. I wish, but
you have to leave your house. I know it's a tough thing, but you do have to leave your house and do things social. But what you said is very interesting to me, is that you're comfortable with being alone. You're very comfortable with being alone. And when a relationship comes along, that little part of you, that your instinct is saying, oh, I don't know if I like this change.
Yeah.
So the universe for you is probably saying, oh, okay, we won't give her that then. We won't give her that change. And you're like, well, for F's sakes, just do something. But the universe is very interesting. The universe is very literal.
So what should I do then? What would someone, because I know a lot of women, I'm not the only one like this, where
no,
what would you advise to women or to men who feel like, it's we feel a bit more anxious all of a sudden when we start to fall in love,
Oh, for sure. And then we go back to, you just have to go inward. And we could go back to, maybe we'll have them read the books you were talking about earlier, and checking in with your inner guide. But the anxiety is something it's not just, it is anxiety, but where did that come from? you might have to go back in time and figure out where it came from, how you developed it, and how to get past it. Or you could take the totally opposite approach and fake it till you make it. You could totally do that.
I'm not good at faking it.
Me neither. Well, some things, right, Angie?
Yeah.
Wink, wink. But what I would tell ladies and gentlemen, the universe, like we were talking about, you're not liking this change, so you're not getting relationships because the universe doesn't want you to experience that kind of upset. The universe is so literal, and I have ladies that say to me, "I just want to find Mr. Right." And stop right there, honey bunny. Here's what's happening. The universe or the spirits or whomever is listening to you is actually looking for Mr. John Right. And they're not finding Mr. Right, so you're not getting anybody. So very literal. And I always say to them, because I hear these phrases all the time, I just want to find the man of my dreams. Well, you know what, hun? Nightmares are dreams too. So be careful what you ask for. And it's really interesting that I know the term soulmate is bandied about a lot. And people, I just want to find my soulmate. I want to find, that other twin flame, that part of my soul. It's way too broad of an ask, way too broad, because you're thinking a romantic relationship. Soulmates come into our lives for many, many different reasons. Some are here to teach us lessons. Some soulmates are actually our worst enemies, and they very rarely are our person. I always ask, my ask is for a forever relationship with a man who is, and then I do in point form, trustworthy, honest, caring, financially stable. So I use the phrase forever person.
So did you say forever person or forever relationship?
I put a relationship with, actually you could do it either way. You can do a forever relationship with a man who is, or my person.
I could say a relationship with my forever person.
Of course.
I'm actually making notes, just so you know.
That's totally fine. I should get my little I have a piece of paper in my office that I pull out, I swear, 7 times a week. And it's what I did before I met my most wonderful man. And I had this, I'll just tell you a quick story.
Oh yeah, go on.
The law of attraction and the vision boards and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
So I was out for breakfast with a friend of mine, and I was at that place where I was like, I am done dating. I am done with the bull crap. I am done with the playing. I'm fine. I'm good. I have great kids. I have a great job. I love what I'm doing. So if somebody comes along, great. And she says to me, okay, smartass, I'm going to pull a you on you. So I want you to write down what you want in a man. Oh boy. Okay. So I just very, goofily said, I put a date on it, December 21st. And I said, I, Lynn Nicholls, hereby request from the universe a forever relationship with a man who is. That's exactly what I wrote out. And then I wrote in point form. And my point form would definitely be different than yours or somebody else's. So that was December 21st. Then December 24th, Christmas Eve day, an acquaintance of mine out of the blue says, hey, Lynn, why don't you come over? I'm having some people around for Christmas Eve dinner, and I know your kids are with their grandparents. I'm like, oh, that's so nice. I'd love to. So I go there, and there's this fella there, and I could kind of see him out of the corner of my eye looking at me, and I'm looking at him, and we get chit-chatting after about an hour of that kind of, that coy stare and the flicking of the hair and all that goofy stuff we tend to do. So this is 3 days later, and I meet this guy who's absolutely fantastic. He checks off every box on my list. It was a little too passionate, I think, in retrospect. There was a little too many unicorns running through the room in retrospect, but We chit chat. It's
what do you mean
great.
too many unicorns? If it worked out, it's great. That's extra passion, or what do you mean?
It was too much. It wasn't that calm, neutral. Hey, I like this guy. Like, let's see where it goes. It was a little too exciting, and I know that sounds weird of me to be a little cynical about unicorns, but I was in retrospect. However, so we meet, we spend, not, I was going to say spend the night together. That didn't happen. But we spent the party together. We got together the next day. And then I find out he lives 600 miles away. I went, oh, gee. And I looked at my list. I forgot to put local.
Oh, yeah. Hang on. I'm going to write it down as well. Yeah.
I want you to send me a picture of these notes after.
Or maybe I don't mind if he lives like on the desert, like Thailand, and I could live in Thailand, whatever.
Yeah, if you're willing to travel, he doesn't have to be local. But I have kids here. I have wonderful friends here, and I don't want to go too far. So I wrote local, lives within a 30-minute drive. And I am not kidding you, 3 months to the day, so March 21st of that year, the following year, I met my guy, and he checked off all the boxes, and it happened on a fluke that I met him. So it was just, and we're still together, and this is 2 years later, and it was like, you just got to get out of your own way and tell the universe what you want and let things happen.
So I love this story, by the way. But so there was no stables, no unicorns when you met your guy?
No.
No. And just a calm?
It was a calm. And I hadn't realized, this is kind of a funny part too, because I really didn't want to meet a stranger, stranger danger, right?
Yeah, yeah.
I didn't want to meet a brand new person and get to know all of his issues and quirks. And so part of I can't remember the exact word I had on my list. I think I wrote familiar or common. I wrote commonalities, but that's really general. So could it mean, oh, you both like to go hiking, but I just wrote commonality. So the way the universe delivered that to me was crazy, because I met this guy just a few years ago, but he had a crush on me way back in grade 8, back when we were 12 and 13.
Oh, that's cute.
Yeah, so I knew his family. I knew where he lived. We hung out a couple times. And then after high school, we went our separate ways and somehow reconnected. And it was just like, there's my commonality. He's here. I know him.
And would you say that sense of calmness that you felt when you met, would you say that's the same for regardless which gender you are, that you should feel that sense of calmness? Mm-hmm.
Of course.
Okay. Yeah. That's okay. I love it that you're giving some tips. Actually walking away with some tips. This is fantastic.
There's a cute little exercise that ladies can try if they would like, if they like more concrete things, especially if they're online dating. Because people like tactile things. They like to, how a lot of psychics use cards. I don't use cards. I can just see and hear and feel things, professional schizophrenic here. And no offense to the schizophrenics of the world. I don't mean to and make anybody angry. That'll happen. But what I tell people, and they think it's goofy until they actually try it. So I tell them, especially if they're online dating, to print out one picture of each of the guys, that you are interested in. Print them out on cardstock or something that you can't see through. Cut them all in the exact same shape. Put them on a table in front of you or wherever's comfortable on the floor, face down. And then close your eyes, mix them up. So you don't know. You have no clue who is on those pictures. And then I tell them to slowly move their hand over each picture and feel how your body feels. Or does your hand get cold? or warm? What's going on with you when you feel these pictures? And make a little note of that on top of each picture. Write it down. So I put my hand over picture number 1. Oh, I feel kind of sick to my stomach. My left foot hurts. I'm hearing the name Jane. Anything you think, anything. Don't censor a darn thing. Whatever comes into your mind, you scribble it on that paper, put it aside, clear your mind, and then go to the next one. Put your hand on it. Do you feel anything? What's going on in your body? And what's happening is it's either your higher self, your inner knowing, or maybe it's your spirit guides or your dead Aunt Lucy that knows who's on the other side of that card is giving you the information and giving you the messages and giving you the feelings. Then flip them over and see how that rings true. I always say, hey, if you're game, go on a date with the guy that you heard, player and loser, and go on a date with him. Go ahead, I dare you. See what happens. And you'd be like, holy hell, I was right. So that's make your little man cards and see what happens.
So I like it. Listen, any help that we can get.
Oh, of course. I know it's awful. It's an awful feeling to feel like you're never going to meet anybody.
Yeah, it's quite tiring.
Tiring.
It's
very
tiring.
tiring.
The dating scene is tiring, but I made peace with it. Like earlier in the year, I was like, I'm not even going to think about it because it may never happen. So why would I be using so much energy onto something that may never happen? All of a sudden, I'll be like 98 if I'm lucky, and I'll be like, oh my god, all the energy I spent thinking about it, I could have spent in doing all the things that I love doing. That was actually right there in front of me. So, but even when I say that, I do still, it's the partnership, that partner in crime. That's the thing I do miss. Is that thing, we're both in on it, and just it's a nice feeling.
That's cool. Okay. And you know what? If you were sitting in front of me right now, Angie, well, you kind of are, but we go back to what I say. The universe is very literal, right? So if you're saying things like, I'm looking for a partner in crime. Oh, shit. You're going to attract a criminal. Be careful, damn it. Be very careful.
See, this is interesting because I've been attracting a lot of soldiers or people
there you go.
work in the intelligence, and they are criminals in a way. And also the other type that is not government. I don't know why. I'm like, can I just be a normal person?
So, and stop saying that too. I'm about to come to the computer and smack you.
Yeah, you are.
I can't meet a normal person. So what happens? She's never going to meet a normal person. We don't even know what normal is anyway. So write out a list. Just write out a very quick list.
I do. I should. Yeah, I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that after the call. I'll sit down. I'll make a list and
then you let it go. I kept it in my wallet. No big deal. I could keep it in my nightstand. It really, really doesn't matter. You don't think about it all the time. You can adjust your list. Like I added local, lives within 30-minute drive. You can adjust your list, but you can't keep going, okay, universe, where is he? Where is he? Because they're going to get, well, if you're going to put some stress and some intensity into this, you're not going to get it because stress and anything negative pushes what you want away. So, like, for example, if you order a pizza, you don't call every few minutes and say, hey, just calling to check. Did you put the cheese on?
No, because they're going to spit on it.
Me again. Did you put the mushrooms on? So you don't keep checking in. You just say, okay, that's my order. I'm expecting that to show up. 30 minutes or less.
Yeah. No, for sure. No, I agree with you. And to be fair, I can honestly say, hand on my heart, everyone I've met, not everyone I've met, but everyone I've sort of been in a relationship with or dated for a long while, everyone has been a good person. They've all been good people. I don't meet like crazy people or,
No.
I don't have any crazy stories, but yeah, it's...
that's because you're a good person.
Thank you.
You're welcome. That's if you were an asshole, you'd be attracting assholes, right?
Yeah, I guess. But I mean, sometimes, people, sometimes they do. I think sometimes if people do actually attract nasty people, Sometimes it's not because
for sure.
sometimes it's not because they are nasty. It could also just be because they don't think they deserve any better, and they're just it's a unconscious punishing themselves. You know,
Exactly.
They think that's what love should look like. They think love should be abusive. They think love should hurt.
I know.
They think love, you know.
Sad.
So it is sad. So okay, so just because I know you help people heal their relationships.
Mm-hmm.
Now I wondered if you could, could you explain a little bit, like, sort of what you mean by that? And is this something that you use your, can I say the gift? Can I say you use your gift for?
People call it that. Yeah, you can, of course.
Yeah. Can you tell me a little bit about how you help people heal their relationships, and what kind of relationships are they?
Oh, of course. I'd have to talk in a very general sense, because if somebody was sitting in front of me, we can dig into it, because we can ask, more pointed questions. But what you can do if you're having trouble in a relationship, it's obviously so emotional for you. And here's where we go back to your emotions going to get in the way of your intuition. So you have to detach from that person emotionally. You have to detach from what they trigger in you. If it's anger, if it's envy, whatever it is, if there's a problem, you have to take that entirely out of your head. If you have children with this person, mutual friends with this person, you have to disregard them entirely. And when you go to that neutral space in your mind, you have to imagine that they're sitting beside you, or usually beside you is better, because if you're having emotional struggles with somebody, you don't want to be face to face with them. That's way too confrontational. So you have a conversation with them in your mind, and you could literally say, what's the problem? What's going on here? And be open and allow whatever comes to your head. It could just be, oh, you know what? I'm depressed. My job sucks, so I'm treating you like a piece of trash. And once you get out of your own way, you get into their mind and you contact or connect with their higher self and see what comes in. And from that point of view, you have a different outlook on what's going on in the relationship. And then you have a choice. You're human. You have a choice. You can choose to heal that relationship or say goodbye. So it's basically get out of your own way, see what's coming in from their end. And if you really don't like it, you leave. But if you feel like there's something to be fixed there, get out your toolbox and fix it. And whatever that toolbox is full of, it could be full of a therapist. It can be full of talking with friends. It can be full of listening to podcasts. Whatever it is, if you want to fix it, fix it. If it's too much, you walk away. But it's basically taking on your partner's feelings, but getting your feelings about the situation out of the way. And it's a tough one, but it's doable.
So do you mean like putting yourself in their shoes?
Yeah, exactly.
So how do you know you're tapping into, does this happen? Is this a process that happens like the couple is in the same room next to each other? No. Okay, so you do that. So you do that away from each other.
Yeah, you would have to do it away from each other. Now, if you were a couple, and a lot of men, to be honest, aren't game for this kind of stuff. But if they, if they were game, you could make, just have a little, very honest, genuine chat. Here's what I would like to do. I would like to spend some time, it could be 10 minutes, it could be 2 days. And I just want to think about how you think. And I would like you to do the same. And after that, let's get together and compare notes. And then you can go from there as a couple and see what you tapped into. Was it correct? Was it incorrect? You could flesh out any differences. You can take care of things that were misunderstandings, because a lot of times problems in relationships are misunderstandings. And see what you want to do from there. And from that point on, it's choice, because you're human and you can make one of 1,000 choices.
Yeah, I think definitely being able to put yourself in someone else's shoes is very important. I think it's a difficult thing to do though, especially when you're in a relationship and your emotions are getting in the way. It's very difficult because sometimes I can see it with friends. They will, they'll show me. I mean, this is what girls do. I would take a screenshot to forward it
Of
to each
course.
other. So, can you believe this? Yeah. And sometimes I'll see from friends and they'll send me stuff and I'll be like, well, he didn't say or do anything wrong, but I can see the person's really upset, and it's basically they've just been triggered, and it's obviously a misunderstanding, and it's to do also with their own, their own issues. And so, but when I see that, the only thing one thing I'm sort of really crystal clear about is that I also am sure I'm doing the same thing. Sometimes I'll be like, overreacting over something that's nothing. But for me, in that moment, my emotions are taking over. And so I think, I think it's almost like you have to be able to almost like physically take a step back. And I wonder if that's maybe a little bit I wonder if that's what you're saying as well in terms of taking your emotions out of it.
Mm-hmm. Oh, entirely. And
how do you do that? Because for me, I would need time. I often I just need time to calm down. And I'm aware of this about myself. So I'll just go, I'll just take some time to myself and wait for things to calm down.
Yeah, of course. You do have to calm down. You can't be reacting. You can't be thinking about it when you're in a state of anger or panic. Because you not only have to get into their shoes, you have to get into their pants and their shirt and their hat and their head and you have to get into every cell of their body and every ounce of their soul to figure it out. And you have to have zero emotion about it, which does sound like an impossible task, but I'm telling you, it's doable. It is doable.
How would you help yourself to do that? Because it sounds obviously like a mixture of things. Sounds like one is self-soothing, and two, there must be something to help you take your emotions out of the equation, which is in relationships, it's very hard.
It's very hard. Yeah. And like I said, you have to disregard children, family, friends. And I don't know if it's because of what I do, but you can almost choose to not care. I know that sounds harsh, but choose to not care what they think and choose to not care of what your emotions are at this point. It's like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I don't care. They actually do matter, but for a few minutes, you're going to put it aside and you make the decision that nothing matters. And you're just going to be totally neutral and go in and figure out what's going on. What an exercise I tell a lot of the ladies who have had multiple exes to go through, because a lot of times it is our own issue, is just to write down your ex's names and the first word you think how they would describe you. And and so I don't know. I want to hear the story behind that.
It makes me laugh because, I wonder if sometimes they know how I describe them. But.
Like some guys will say, "Oh, she's crazy," or "She's a bitch," or "She was really nice," or "We just didn't hit it off," or "She was too fat," or "She was too skinny," or "Her one eye was lazy." It could be the first thing that comes to your mind, and that might help. Sort this current relationship out, because there might be a common thread there that you're not tapping into. And that will, because we're not emotionally attached to those exes, hopefully, anymore, we go X number 1, X number 2, X number 3, we go through them. And at the bottom of the list, you put your current relationship down and you let the information fly in with as little emotion as you did with all those other exes. So it's almost like, okay, get ready, get set, go, do it really fast. And sometimes we just need to be blindsided, and it might work a little better.
What do you mean blindsided?
So when you're going through a list of your exes, you write all your exes down. It might be 3, it might be 33, I don't know. And beside each of those, you put the one word that comes to your mind, how they would describe you. At the end of that list, you put your current relationship's name. And you're going to go through this list very quickly. So John thinks I'm crazy. Pete thinks I'm sweet. Bum, bum, bum. Current relationship thinks I'm... And because your brain is already in the mode of getting quick answers, you might get a very quick answer about your current relationship, because if you have too much emotion about it, it's like trick yourself. Let's just trick yourself.
Yeah, that's what you mean. Like you're going to be blindsided by what's going to come up before you even think about it.
Exactly.
So what do you mean by like disregard the family? Do you mean like disregard what they think about the relationship?
Yeah, because a lot of people, people stay together for the kids, or they're acting this way because of the kids, or the parents, or whatever. So you have to take everybody's emotions out of the way, because as women, we tend to take them on and regard them as fact when they are just opinion, and they don't know who we are, how we feel. The person that we're living with, they don't live with them. So we have to disregard everybody else's feelings, emotions, opinions about them.
Yeah, I think, definitely we need to be careful who we ask for advice, who we go to advice. I think definitely like someone who's in that, outside of your friendships and your family, like someone like you, for example, or a therapist, anyone that's sort of outside, I think it's always good to have an outside perspective.
Oh, of course, because everybody's going to answer your quest for advice based on their past experiences.
Yes.
So everything's skewed, and that's not a bad thing. It's just the way we see the world.
And also there's stakes in the friendship to you as well, in the relationship.
Of course.
They may not want to rock the boat or whatever it is, because honesty is a tough one to give to, because if you're going to tell that person, actually the problem is you, not your partner. You've got to have a good relationship. Not everyone can take it. So okay, so we talked about like dating and the beginning of dating, and then healing relationships. I do have another question around finding a match. How long do you give it to see if it's a match when you first start dating?
So if it's an immediate no, it's a no. You run the hell out of there, because your body knows. That's your instinct, right?
Yes.
Now, if you're thinking, well, it's a maybe, then you give it not a particular time frame, but until your body, your mind starts saying no. Because the moment you decide that, hey, maybe this isn't right, or maybe I deserve better, then that means you actually do deserve better. So the moment your brain goes there, it's often very fleeting. We tend to ignore it. So I would say you stay and you give it a good old college try until you get the, uh-oh, that kind of, feeling. And I'm not saying nothing can be worked out, but pay more attention to why you're feeling that way. Is it your issue? Is it your pattern? Are they here to teach you something? Then you start to go from that point of view. That's when you take your intuition up to that next level and say, I'm going to give this enough time to, it's not a timing thing as in days, weeks, or months. It's a timing thing as in your mind, until my mind says, can't do this anymore, honey.
I find that those are probably the hardest one to get out of, the ones where everything seems fine, but you have a sort of like a no, or like the example I had before, where it's like, I feel blue when I think of me and him in the future.
Right.
And I remember I was just like, it must be hard if you're with someone for like, years. This is why it goes into years, and then you wake up, you don't really have a reason, but I think that's how those relationships maybe start. It's like there were some no's, but they're like, come on, everything else is good, and it is tough out there, the dating scene, and let's stay in this, and it's more comfortable, and you have someone. And I think that's where maybe the danger, you can go into years of being with someone, and then all of a sudden you go, no, I really can't, and the other person is probably blindsided maybe. And those are hard ones to end, because nothing bad has happened, So it's always easier to end something where someone has behaved horribly.
Oh, of course.
Over again, you go, this is it. I can't even. But when there's nothing really there, it's really hard, because you feel horrible ending it. And it's. But I think definitely hearing the no's at the beginning, and I think it's definitely important, because you have to believe in yourself that you deserve, this is not the person for you, and you're not their person.
Right.
And because I think there's you said, like, that's that feeling of calm
Mm-hmm.
But then there could still be that feeling of calm, but something isn't right. Something just isn't there.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and if your creep radar goes off, you run like hell. You know
Of
that
course.
we have that creep radar.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. This is interesting. Like, and I think your body feels it more than anything.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I remember when I had 3 dates with this guy, and the first day was great. The second date, he gave me a peck on the lips for a good night, and the date was fine. Everything was great, but the minute he gave me that kiss on the lips, my body just went like this.
Oh,
like,
dear.
Revolted. Yeah, I didn't know why. I was just like, this is odd, because
I love that.
Yeah, I was like, consciously, I didn't have that thought at all. So anyway, so got into the taxi, went home, and then the third date, that it kept, obviously that was in my mind. I was like, I don't know, like, this is weird, but I had no reason not to go. So I went on the third date, and I could feel, because for me the physicality is very important, and because that thing, it was a bit of a weird kiss, but it could also just be because it was awkward the first time.
Of course, maybe.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Oh, that's what I was hoping for. It was just that, and I could tell I was like, I was impatient with him. I was just a bit annoyed because just that kiss was so bad. But then anyway, so during that day we went to a museum, I remember, and I love art, and we were just looking at art, but I didn't want him to come close to me. And at some point, he came a little bit close, and again, my body just went,
wow.
Yeah.
That's an awesome story.
Yeah. And then so I did. So anyway, so I think like we ended the date around 6, 7 p.m. I went home, and he wanted to arrange a 4th date, and I just had to go.
Oh, dear.
I just said, no. All I said was just like, it was really lovely meeting you. I just don't see any romantic connection there. But I wish you all the best. It was nice to see you. That's it. Because he didn't do anything wrong. There was nothing bad to say. I wouldn't say anything bad after 3 dates.
No.
Yeah. But my body was just like, I'd never had that before.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I love that. I love that.
That's the creepy radar, right? Yeah, or whatever it is. I don't think he was a creep. I just think that my body was just like, no, we're not going there.
Yep. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And sometimes I think down there she knows too. She's like, oh, honey, no, we're not doing this. We're not going to be happy. This is not, she's got a mind of her own, She will decide for me. And sometimes she's just, I've got to listen to her.
If he can't kiss well, what else can he not do well with his lips, right?
I know. Yeah. So, look, Lynn, this has been wonderful.
Oh, yeah, it's been lots of fun.
I do want to ask you a couple of questions. So outside this topic, but what would you tell your 18-year-old self?
I would tell my 18-year-old self, I would say, you are good enough, and you need to trust yourself. Because at 18, I didn't think I was good enough for anybody or good enough to do anything with my life. And it turns out it's not too bad here. I did pretty well. So I would say you are good enough, and you are pretty darn special. So go forward and shine bright and be more confident.
How did you get to that, to feel good enough and be more confident? I mean, because you clearly are, but I was just like, how did you get yourself there?
This is like lots of years. I think a lot of it has to do with celebrating your successes, even the little ones. It's like, oh, you know what? I actually went the right way to work and missed all the red lights today. Those are little tiny successes. Or you know what? You raised 2 really great kids. So which are the bigger successes. So if you are grateful for and grateful for your life and your successes, and you celebrate your successes, then you feel more confident, and then you feel more successful. And I'm not cocky, I'm not arrogant. I just know I could do anything I set my mind to. Well, maybe not like back surgery or anything, but I could probably do anything I wanted to do. Yeah.
No, I love that. I think it's so important, super important. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think that's good for your kids as well, that that's something that you know and believe in, because that's going to give them strength as well. And I think I always love to hear from mothers, and especially women, because I'm a woman, so I resonate. But to hear about them feeling, I know I can do this, because I think if I had kids, I would have wanted to tell them, you can do anything you want, put your mind to it, just do it. Obviously
Exactly.
within reason, I think if you're 3 feet tall, you're not going to, playing hoops, at the NBA or whatever.
Exactly.
But you know what I'm saying? It's like, or if you're 6 feet tall, you may not be a horse racer. It's a jockey. That's it. Jockey, isn't it? The word. But I'm just saying, like, definitely, like, and again, that's probably a limiting belief. Maybe like in 2050, that's all possible.
Of
what
course.
do I know? Yeah, exactly. So, and then the second question is, what should you tool for now? And by that, I mean, like, what do you not put up with? Like, what sort of shit do you not put up with anymore?
Oh, I do not put up with any drama. I don't put up with betrayal. I don't put up with rudeness. I don't put up with anything negative, because I'm not saying I'm a happy person all the time and, skipping around, but I want to deal with people that are positive and situations that are positive and anything that will bring out the best in me and the people closest to me. But I am too old for garbage.
Okay, so Lynn, thank you so much. Please tell us, where can people find you?
Oh, okay. You can find me online. You can find me at Lynn Nicholls, that's with 2 L's.com, or on Facebook at Lynn Nicholls-Psychic Medium. I'm also on Instagram at Lynn_Nicholls. And on my Facebook and on my Instagram, I do some really fun things. I do a 1-minute medium. So I give it's like a free reading. And if the clues match you, then the message is for you. And I also do something called 60 Seconds to Psychic, because I don't think anybody needs to go to classes upon classes to be psychic, because I think we all are. And I think if you just weave intuition development into your day, you can enhance your intuitive abilities. And that's why I say 60 seconds a day, you'll have this psychic thing down pat.
Oh, thank you so much, Lynn.
Oh, you're very welcome. It was so much fun.
Okay, it's been absolutely a pleasure having this chat with you. And thank you so much. Bye, Lynn.
You're welcome. Bye.
And that's our episode. I hope you enjoyed it. Look, please don't forget to rate, review, subscribe on iTunes or follow on Spotify. Please show us some love, and that's how you can support this show. And drop me your questions or suggestions for future episodes via the website at angies.com. That's angie-s.com. Or come and find me on Instagram. I have 2 accounts. One is Tool for This Shit Podcast, and the other one is Health Lifestylist. See you next week, and until then,
using health inappropriately.